and idea maker of our new product line, Fibrafil, and mainly Fibrafil Cube, Flow, and Dentin. I am so happy that I can share with you all information regarding to Fibrafil, and there will be presentation which will be split for two parts. One will be led by Zdeněk, and the rest will be led by Tomáš Slavíček. So I think we can go to the presentation. And first I want to say, if you have some questions, please let it for the rest of our meeting. Our meeting takes, I don't know, about 60 minutes, because this is the rule of Google Meet. So I think we can start. Yes? Are you hearing me well? Jo, já jsem myslel. Všem účastníkům byl vypnut zvuk a teď mi řekni, jak to mám udělat.
I hear you very well, Pavel.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Great, yeah.
So
now we will share our screen with you for the presentation.
Technical issue, because this is the first time teďka nevím, kde jsme to. Celá obrazovka nebo okno?
Share the whole screen.
Share. A teď tam dám tu prezentaci, ne?
Yeah.
So we are almost there. I think this is the time.
Yeah.
So we can start.
So maybe we will change because I need a presentation in front of me. Okay. Dear doctors, as already Pavel introduced me, my name is Zdeněk and I'm responsible for research and development in our company. I will speak briefly about the materials from the perspective of biomechanics, mechanical engineering. And so please excuse the possible mistakes in medical terminology, but afterwards my colleague, Dr. Tomáš Slavíček, will follow me and he will share his experiences about clinical usage of Fibrafil products. As you all already know, the intact tooth consists of complex structure of dental tissues characterized by unique mechanical properties. Thus, in the clinical success of large-scale restoration depends mainly on the level of original structure damage, of the original structure disruption. Here you can see on the example of one of many post-market clinical follow-up studies documenting the longevity of composite restorations, that fracture of either restoration of or of a tooth, of remaining tooth tissues, is the most common reason of failure of composite restorations. This is associated mainly with the uneven stress distribution in the restoration and the effect of stress concentration. If the level of stress exceeds the load-bearing capacity of the restorative material or remaining hard dental tissues, this can either be caused by cyclic loading or accidental trauma. Cracks can initiate and propagate until the failure of the restoration. I bet that the picture like this you already know from your clinical practice, because it's a very common failure. The loss of original biomechanics expressed by the loss of stiffness of molar tooth can be very nicely demonstrated by measuring the cuspal deflection of tooth with different kind of defects.
I apologize, Pavel. Is everybody seeing the presentation? Because I don't see it.
You don't see the presentation?
No.
No.
No. I try to
fix it. You still see us?
Yes.
Oh.
Tady je ta prezentace. A jo.
now. This?
Jo. Končit sdílení a teďka bys to měla začít znovu.
I will try to share the whole screen with you.
A teďka bys měl vzít tu prezentaci a to by mělo být share. And now you see only the window.
Only now. Thank you very much.
Now you see the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, after I bet I will go briefly again through that. This is the slide where I was presenting the original structure of the tooth, how it works. This is the table documenting the reasons for failures of composite restorations. You can see that for class 1 and class 2 cavities, fracture of restoration of fracture of tooth is the most common reason for failure. This is a picture of a very common failure associated with the uneven stress distribution, restoration, and the origination of a stress concentration in some critical areas of the restoration. This is the last slide I was speaking about, and this is a study made by Dr. Pascal Magnier from the University of Southern California. And this study documents cuspal deflection of tooth with different kind of defects. And here you can see that under static loading of 150 newtons applied on the coronal part of the tooth, which is, I would say, within the loads, the cusps of restored tooth still deflects much more than in the case of intact tooth. Here's why. Because, you know, the original structure of coronal part of the tooth is severely damaged, is somehow disrupted. The pattern of stress distribution is different from the intact tooth. You can see that the loading from mastication expands cusp pen, as it was documented by the study of Magnier, which generates a stress concentration in the critical areas of the restoration, even in the coronal part and downwards on the bottom side of the cavity. This phenomenon was also confirmed by finite element analysis study, as you can see on the white picture on the left side of the slide. The method of finite element analysis is often used for study of deformation behavior of biological substrate, which you cannot quantify in vitro because it's not possible to measure it orally. And, you know, when the stress concentration, the level of stress exceeds the load bearing capacity of the tooth, then it can, the fracture like this can occur. This again is one of many scientific references showing the stress distribution in the large MOD cavity. You can clearly see the areas of stress concentration where cracks can be initiated. For us as mechanical engineers, it is very important to look how Mother Nature handles the phenomenon of stress concentration as stress propagation. And we are trying to mimic somehow the natural structural patterns of intact tooth structure. The key parameter in this regard is the tooth responds to a stress as a graded material. The inter-animal junction distributes the stress across a large zone and prevents stress concentration and development and propagation of cracks downwards to the dentine and to the pulp. The example of engineering application of this would be a concrete structure reinforced by continuous steel net. This is the technology used in skyscrapers and everywhere. And it clears that it works. Also, the fiber-like structure of underlying dentin increases the resistance of the tissue to crack propagation. The energy of cracks can be dislocated on the surface of collagen fibers, avoiding the propagation of cracks to the root and to the apex of the tooth. From our perspective, knowledge of the usage of fibers in the field of minimally invasive dentistry from our previous line, which you maybe already know, DentaPreg, have led us to development of a new product line called Fibrafil. The technology is based on the reinforcing effect of both continual and dispersed fibers. The system contributes to pressure and stress concentration in large-scale restoration. This will be commented by our colleague from clinical practice, Dr. Slavíček, who will share his clinical cases with you later on. I would say the dominant part and the most important material or the product of our new product line, Filla Cube, is the only composite on the market with integrated continuous membrane, which helps to distribute stresses evenly in the restoration. The function of the membrane in the cavity is assured by technology which we have been developing for a really long time. The material itself is ideal for dentin replacement in large posterior cavities. Here you can see the principle of how the membrane works in the cavity. When the vertical load is applied on the surface of the material, it generates a tension in the reinforcing layer in the fibers, and this contributes to relief of stress in the bottom layer. This was also quantified experimentally by 3-point bending test, comparing the flexural strength of conventional microhybrid composite with and without continuous fiber reinforcement. Flexural strength itself can be interpreted as the ability of the material to resist deformation under masticatory load. And here you can see that the continuous reinforcement works effectively in respect to increasing the flexural strength of the material. Right. I'll continue. This is a visualization of a mathematical modeling study when you can see this effect more clearly because it's the model of real tooth. And you can see that under static loading by steel ball, you can see the cut of the steel ball up there. You can see that the membrane helps to dissipate stress generated by loading and reduce the shear stress in the adhesive joint, because the green area is expression of a loading of a stress that is present in the cavity, and you can see that the membrane in the tooth itself stops the propagation of the stresses further into the adhesive joint. This is again the study made by finite element analysis, mathematical modeling. Complements to the Filla Cube are two other materials, which maybe will be more familiar to you because it's more similar to conventional composites than the Filla Cube. One of them, called Fibrafil Flow, is hybridized with dispersed fiber reinforcement constituted by surface-treated short submicron inorganic fibers, which works kind of like a three-dimensional net in the bulk of cured material. Thanks to a large specific surface, aspect ratio, and very unique mechanical properties, these fibers ensure a great fracture toughness of the material. The flowable material is ideal for cavity linings, minimally invasive fillings, and, for instance, block blocking of undercuts if you replace old amalgam fillings. This is fiberfill dentine. It uses the same technology like previous material, like flowable one, in respect to dispersed reinforcement. The only different thing is the viscosity of the material. This one is packable, so you can use it as a traditional bulk filling material. This is the explanation of how the dispersed fibers work in the composite system. You can see that the crack spread fast and straightforward in homogeneous materials like conventional composites, which consist only of organic matrix and reinforcing fillers. But if you put a structural barrier to head the crack propagation, the energy of fracture consumes much more to be absorbed by fibers, and there is no catastrophic failure of fracture in this case. This is maybe easily understandable. This is a benchmarking comparison of traditional flowable materials, which are the most widely used material, for instance, in the Czech market. You can see tetric flow from Ivoca, Charisma, extra base flow from Foco. This is a comparison of fracture toughness, which was conducted on the Central European Institute of Technology. And you can see that fiberfill flow has the highest fracture toughness among the tested materials. This is the same comparison for dentine. I'm not saying that there are not very good materials already available on the market, like, for instance, Filtec 1 in this case, but fiberfill dentine in this case reaches the best values of stress intensity factor and has the highest fracture toughness among the tested materials. Finally, I would like to show you the possible way how to utilize all the fiberfill products while restoring a large MOD cavity. Fiberfill flow can be used as a liner underneath the application doses of fiberfill cube. Integrated membrane in fiberfill cube prevents the stress concentration. Fiberfill dentine, which is a condensable material, can be used to fill up the residual dentine volume in the cavity. And for the final layer, you can use any universal aesthetic composite. It's based on your choice. Before I will let my colleague Dr. Slavicek speak, I will try to summarize the clinical benefits of using fiberfill products. In brief, this includes minimizing the effect of stress concentration in critical areas of large fillings and restorations, reducing the risk of creation and propagation of cracks in the restoration and the surrounding hardened tissues, reducing shear stress in the area of adhesive joint, securing of marginal integrity, minimizing polymerization stress and polymerization shrinkage thanks to the optimized composition of the materials and presence of reinforcing fibers, which can dislocate the stress from polymerization shrinkage. Also, reinforcing fibers are able to increase adhesion between individual layers of composite on the principle of micromechanical retention if you employ an incremental technique of material placement. And overly using of fiberfill products minimize the risk of fatal failure, and it extends the service life of restoration thanks to the overall reinforcement and increase of toughness of the restoration. Well, this is it from my side. Enough of boring mechanics. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them at the end of the presentation, or share your thoughts through emails, which we will share. And now I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Dr. Slavicek, to share his experience from a clinical perspective.
I am jumping in. Everybody's okay with connection, with presentation?
Představit, kdybychom tam dali na to. To? Hello again. Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Tomáš Slavicek, and I was invited to tell you something about the brand new product, Filla Cube, or some FRC from family Fibrafil. I'm here to tell you my view, my opinion, and my experiences with this amazing material. First of all, I want to highlight that tooth structure is George's amazing miracle structure with very unique hierarchy and architecture in all levels. And I have to say that in most cases, and in every cases, we need to replace functional unit with all properties. And it is currently showing that biomimetic attitude seems like the way to successful treatment. And for example, Italian school promotes to treat every piece of hard tooth tissue, every tooth which would have been indicated for extraction in the past. So for this reason, we have choose the materials with some features and some advanced materials, and there are no doubts that Fibrafil Cube or other FRC is for these cases perfect. This is illustrative case when we treated Whittle upper molar. You can see on the first picture in the left that we have to remove or carry dentin or all hard tooth tissues which is degraded. In the second picture from the left, you can see rebuilded approximal wall and inserted one portion of Fibrafil Cube in the position of the dental cusp. On the right side, the final picture shows that every portion of Fibrafil Cube is covered with conventional composite. This is a very similar case. This is a big defect in the upper premolar. First of all, we have to evaluate what is good for the tooth. So preparing the field of operation is necessary. After that, we need to make an adhesive protocol and put in the liner of flow. After that, we can insert the portion of Fibrafil Cube in the position to protect the weakened cusp. On the right side, we can see the final restoration after articulation. This is my next case from the start. On the left picture, you can see the large defect. There was an amalgam filling. The tooth is with Whittle reaction. You can see that the first steps leads to make central cavity. It means usage of matrix system is necessary to achieve the central cavity. After that, we can insert the fiberfill cube in 3 portions, and the third picture shows the finish. This is the next case. These cases are very similar because these direct restorations are most routine interventions in our clinician practice. So you can see big cavity, which is very near to the pulp chamber. After adhesive protocol evaluation, we can put in the liner, flow liner. After that, you can insert the portion of fiberfill cubes, packing down the portions to the final position. And after that, it is covered by conventional composite. Finishing and polishing follows, and the finish is on the right side. In this picture, there was an old filling removed due to the progression of secondary caries. On the first,
sorry, Tomáš, maybe someone is trying to join us, so I will.
I have to say, I'm sorry, my English is very, very bad. My colleagues are better than me.
No, your English is perfect.
No.
Thank you. So on the first picture in the left side, you can see that there was cauterization or gingivectomy necessary. We need to clarify the edges of the cavity to evaluate how to treat this case. After that, we can put the metric system, seal with the wooden wedge, and make the central cavity. After that, we can make better operational field with coffer dam, rubber dam. Putting the liner of flow follows, and insertion of fiberfill cube. In this case, we put only 1 portion of fiberfill because there was not so much place to cover by conventional composite. Final restoration you can see on the right picture.
Well, this is the case made by Dr. Pavlov from Sofia, Bulgaria. So you can see that the materials have been widely used all across Europe already, and this is a typical MOD cavity filling. That's, it's, what can I say about the case from my point of view?
Yes, it is good to say that the fiberfill cube indication is for pre-endo build-up or post-endo build-up, and large to treat large reconstruction as well. So that the cases are very similar. And
well, this is a case from India, from Dr. Krishna Vyas, and this is a wall reconstruction of a coronal part of the tooth, utilizing fiberfill cube.
Yes, it's very simple handling. If you achieve a central cavity and you have enough space, you can make maybe fill it with portions of fiberfill in based on your choice. This is a post-endo reconstruction. This very, very hard case. The borders of cavity was under the gingiva, so it was necessary to make a gingivectomy. After that, switch peripheral cavity to the central, and protect the remaining hard tooth tissues with two portions of Fibra Filla Cube. In case of post-endo, I usually use Fibra Filla Cube with FRC post, both together. It seems that it is a good way to maximize the result. In this case, I would like to show you post-endo reconstruction. There is a peripheral cavity with borders with edges under the level of gingiva. Sorry, it's okay. We have to evaluate if it is gingivectomy necessary, or if we can do it without it. After that, placing the matrix system follows, and make a proximal wall with a conventional composite or flow, and insertion of a portion of Fibra Filla Cube in the position in approximal part of the tooth. Combination with FRC in FRC post is the best way how to maximize the effect. This case is very similar. In this case, we make a pre-endo build up to make a good operational field for root canal treatment. You can see on the left side there is a temporary filling in the cavity. We had to remove the temporary filling from the cavity, evaluate, and if we use a sectional matrix or a circular matrix. In this case, we used a circular matrix with Toffelmeier, and adhesive protocol build up of the proximal wall, and strengthen the proximal wall with a portion of Fibra Filla Cube. On the right side, you can see the crown of the tooth prepared for the root canal treatment. This build up is very tough, very
demanding task.
Demanding. Is very good. Is very good for root canal treatment and post endo, and we can start with it for post endo build up. This is a case of tooth 370. This means second lower left molar. You can see old amalgam filling. Removing the filling and toilet of the cavity. You can see on the right side that the edge of the cavity is above the gingival level, so we didn't use the cauter or gingivectomy. In this case, we used circular matrix to switch peripheral cavity into the central. And in this case, I scanned for you to illustrate how deep is the cavity in this case. So after the switching to the central cavity, we can use rubber dam for better operation field, application of liner flow, insertion the fiberfill cube in the position of protective significance. Okay. Packing down, and insertion of a second portion, and covering with a conventional composite. This case shows 236 MOD second class reconstruction. You can see big amalgam filling. After removing, we have to evaluate if it is possible to do it only with sectional matrix or circular matrix. In this case, we used sectional matrix, 2 sectional matrix in the both proximal locations. I scanned for you. It is a 3D scan illustrative, and we used a rubber dam for better operation field, flow liner lining at the bottom of the cavity, and insertion of portion of fiberfill cube in one piece. Articulation on the right side, and the finishing and polishing follows. This is the 247 second class reconstruction. Big cavity. Yes. Okay. We removed old amalgam filling, and you can see large defect with borders, with edges under the level of gingiva. So we used a cauter for cauterization and clarifying the edges. In this case, we used circular matrix and switched the peripheral cavity into the central. Flow liner at the bottom of the cavity, and insertion of portion of fiberfill. I used 2 pieces of fiberfill in this case, and the result you can see on the right side. So
I think that Dr. Slavíček will be able to share many of other clinical cases with you, but let's say that on Thursday evening we don't have maybe you don't have enough time to see that. But if you have any questions, maybe now is the right time to ask them. I will finish the screen sharing and allow you to speak.
To musíš zapnout, tam bylo všem účastníkům byl vypnout zvuk. Are you hearing us? Maria, try to say anything.
Yes, I do hear you.
Yeah,
hopefully
great.
everybody hears.
There was still silence from the other side, so we are happy that we can
Make sure you didn't block everybody's microphones, please. Just to avoid questions and go faster for a beer.
Yeah.
Of course, we will share this presentation with you. We will send you PDF via email, Maria.
Okay.
To distribute to participants of this meeting.
I think
of course,
it would
you
be
can
nice.
visit.
And we will send to all participants the PDF presentation also in case they want to double check.
And you can find as well some movies on YouTube.com. When you put there Filla Cube Dentapreg, you will find free movies which are about Filla Cube and system Fibrafil. And now this is the space for your questions if you have for Zdeněk or Tomáš.
Or you can formulate a question later on and send it to us via email. But
I have a technical question, so I will start just to warm up the people. What's the average of Fibrafil cubes that you could use in your practice? And how do you decide how many they are needed for each case?
Well, I think it's a question to you.
So,
Jak velký kostičky jsou to a kolik se rozhodneš podle toho, kolik jich narveš do toho zubu?
Okay, it is a good question, very good question. I decided to use Fibrafil Cube if the cusp is vacant, if it is undermined structure of the cavity, or there is a large defect. So it is not indicated for normal MOD cavity, which can be treated with conventional composites. I recommend you to start with pre-endo or post-endo build-up with Fibrafil Cube, and or after that, if it is based on your choice, on your experience. The dimension of Fibrafil Cube, it is about 3 millimeters, 3
cubic millimeters, and the number of application doses depends on the scale of the defect. You can use up to, I would say, 3 application doses in the case of very large and extensive defect.
Yes, mostly I use 1 or 2 portion of Fibrafil Cube in the large, very large cavities, because there is no place for insertion more than 2 Fibrafil cubes in vital tooth.
Yeah, well, if you recognize that the tooth wall is severely weakened, then it's a good time for you to use the reinforcement in the form of Fibrafil Cube to support the wall. But the application principle is pretty much same like any packable composite. So you don't have to be afraid of the application.
If you want to customize the Fibrafil, you can do it with a blade in the package, so you can cut it into the 2 halves. It is possible.
Thank you. Any other questions?
For me, practical